Hello everyone, my name is Daryl Kwao. Thanks for joining us. Now, government may have some challenges in implementing policies and programs this year. This is mainly due to rising expenditure and declining revenues. The warning came from various speakers at the Institute of Fiscal Studies Budget Forum. Executive Director of IFS, Professor Newman Kusi, however, believes the focus must rather be on efforts at expanding the economy.
So the bottom line is that we need to take steps to grow the economy. That's number one. Number two, whilst we are growing the economy, we also have to review these earmark funds, so that, its management and utilization and the purpose for which these earmark funds are set are met. And then again, once that is done, then we'll be able to get more revenue, and together with, containing, wasteful expenditures and all those type of things, we were able to create the free space for government to maneuver. Because once we are able to do that and reduce the fiscal deficit, then the tendency to borrow reduces. So if we reduce the fiscal deficit, we reduce our debt, and we reduce our borrowing, then the interest cost, which is also part of the earmark funds, also reduces, and then create room for the government, to maneuver.
Meanwhile, government is insisting the plans to reduce some levies and remove some taxes will be announced in the 2017 budget. There are fears with the budget deficit and public debt, government might be forced to freeze the tax measures as it looks at programs to stabilize the economy. But Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Mark Osei-Sibe, says the tax reviews are not negotiable.
These taxes have not brought in the needed revenues, okay? So there have been nuisance taxes as a way, and some of them too have created disincentives for people to be paying some of these taxes. It is not true that whenever you increase taxes, revenues go up. So it's possible to reduce taxes and at the same time give incentives for people to pay taxes, thereby increasing revenue. So let's see which of these taxes are going to go off. On these two presentations, clearly the earmarked funds have not helped. If you look at the gift that came in 2014, and that could go away because that's directed toward infrastructure spending. And if you go to NHIF, if you go to Get Fund, Road Fund, all of it goes to support infrastructure. So you could take off the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, nothing will happen. Also,
the confirmation I get from God, we also hear that it might be restructured by taking off those funds, taking a second look at that fund, bringing it back to the main treasury account, and look at private sector investment rather to guide the operations of GIF.
I'm only advising that we could take that one off. Also, DACF, you could have some space there. The law says up to 5%. Previously, we've seen us go up to 7.5%. So you could also get some wiggle room with the DACF. And if there's some savings from the GIF and also from the DACF, at least that envelope, if we are par, it reduces the borrowing to start with. If you're able to move from what he showed, from the 107 down to the 100 mark, where revenues and earmark funds are at par, then you are not borrowing that much, because as it is right now, if we don't make some savings from the earmarking, then we have to continue borrowing just to keep up with these spending, because some of these are constitutional, some of them are statutory. You can't walk away from them. You got to pay wages and salaries. You have to service your debt.
For me, that despite these challenges that we, the external persons, are seeing, for you, these tax cuts would go ahead?
Yeah, I think it's a promise. We have to see them. We brought taxes down from corporate taxes from 32 to 25% under the MPP, yet revenues went up. So let's encourage people to pay taxes by reducing the tax rates and also by taking away these nuisance taxes.
Well, government has indicated some taxes like corporate taxes will be reviewed. Levies on some import duties will also go off. Other taxes, which have been described as nuisance taxes like the 17.5% on VAT on financial services, will be moved. Moving on now, public officials whose actions contributed to the 7 billion cedi undisclosed arrears could be prosecuted. This is what Joy Business has picked up from persons close to government. It follows revelations that 7 billion cedis spent by the previous administration was not channeled through the Public Finance Management System, GIFMIS. George Afe has more.
Sources say the possible prosecution of these officials would be based on the findings of forensic audit, which Joy Business understands will be led by an international firm. The action be based on persons who failed to act to prevent this huge arrears, and also those who helped this expenditure not to be captured under the GIFMIS system. Joy Business is learning that part of the 7 billion cedi spending was done after the Public Financial Management Act was passed, and that is why the law is being applied. According to the Act, these officers could get a summary conviction of not less than 6 months and not more than 5 years. Already the IMF has indicated its preparedness to send its team down to help with this audit, as captured in its statement released at talks with government on renegotiating aspects of the program. The fund has also confirmed that some arrears were not captured in the GIFMIS system. The audit has been taken seriously by the IMF because it could delay further disbursement of the funds under the program. And also some donors are threatening to freeze further budget disbursement until the audit are completed. The IMF also in their concluding statement put the budget deficit based on payments made at 9%. The IMF also in their concluding statement put the budget deficit based on payments at 9%. For some, this gives credence to the fact that we have ended the year with a double budget deficit if we factor other payments that government has promised to settle. Others are also worried about the IMF stance on plans by government to remove taxes. Now, this is because the statement issued by the fund says it welcomes the review of taxes. However, it is pushing for government also to go ahead with the fiscal consolidation program, which should result in cutting down on expenditure and raising more taxes to finance the high budget deficit. The IMF is also asking government to fast-track the financial imbalances of state-owned enterprises in the energy sector, which needs to be addressed quickly. But for some, why this call? Could it mean that the energy sector debt is not being cleared at the fast rate?
Meanwhile, economist Dr. Joabi tells Joy Business this audit and possible sanctions should be carried out in a way that does not suggest any political witch hunting.
All of these things, we must get out of anything that somebody can use as political witch hunting, because this is something we should no more be tolerating. So I think that the IMF is well placed. Of course, we have a government that can be represented, but at the end of the day, I would like very much that whatever post-mortem, whatever forensic audit or whatever name we are using, that is seen by the Ghanaian people as something which is not a matter of politics. And then we get to the question. So if there are penalties, if you flout the public financial management law, then of course the law must take its course. What is a bigger issue is this. Some of the earlier reports that we heard talked about the fact that some of the 7 billion, if that's what you are talking about, that the undisclosed arrears predated even the program with the fund, which raises a larger issue about our performance, because it means that we were hiding. I mean, the law came much, much later. We were hiding, so anything that happened after the passage of the law takes a serious thing, but you may find that that's minuscule, even though it should be dealt with. For me, as an analyst and somebody interested in, therefore, where are we? Where is the economy of Ghana? And where are we going to go from here? It is important that we get the facts as they are. And I'm saying to you, it means that at least it holds a threat that we never really performed as was being reported throughout the life of this program. That is a very worrisome thing for me, because a lot of donors, a lot of investors are going to then recalculate the risk that they face in having exposed themselves to Ghana, and that is very dangerous.
But Doc, what will you tell some who also argue that every developing economy records an overrun? We've hardly had balanced budgets in a developing economy, and therefore Are these donors not reacting too much when they raise red flag and even threatening continued support and even holding on to disbursement and all those things because there is a problem with this whole gift mix program? Don't you expect that every developing economy have these challenges where you have serious overruns because you've never had a balanced budget?
Well, the thing is, then why do you have the laws? You see, we should be very careful. I hear Ghanaians sometimes talking as if, on the one hand, we have our lives to lead. On the other hand, other people owe us to deliver on their commitments. I don't think that that is something we want to continue to live with. There have been many countries that have been overrunning their budgets. What happens to them? They become failed states. You've gone and borrowed up to over 70%, which is the norm these days for countries at our level of development. 70% of your national income is owed in debt. And a lot of it has been piled up, particularly in the last 3-4 years. $1 billion borrowed and averaging more than 8% a year, interest payments. 1 billion in 2013, 1 billion in 2014, 1 billion in 2015, 750 million in 2016. All of these things add $80 million of interest payments and keep accumulating. You now have for 2017 over 320, maybe $350 million equivalent to pay on interest on these last few loans you have taken. Where are you going to get that money from?
Well, economist Joe Abida, in a related development, the Association of Ghana Industries has backed moves by the government to continue with the IMF program. Here's the Chief Executive Officer.
The policy was developed with previous government. It was developed with previous government, and that means that it was developed with Ghana. So there must be continuity. But there's nothing wrong if a new government has come and he says, I will have to look at it from a certain angle also, because I also have a developmental objective I want to achieve. And therefore, we'll go to the table, discuss it, and see how best we can further improve whatever arrangement that existed in the past. There's nothing wrong with seeking further improvement in any negotiation situation. Once the room is there, you take advantage of it. And I believe that it shouldn't create any problem for Ghana, if depending on how you go into the negotiations. And I believe the IMF itself would embrace the idea that the previous government had a program. New government is also coming up with a program. How do they fit into the IMF program? So there's a small tweak to make it work better to achieve your objective for the country. I don't see anything wrong with it. If a statement had been made to the effect that we are canceling the IMF deal, we are going out of it, that one I'm sure would have made a different impression or different assessment of it. But if he says we want to have a review of it and tweak it to suit the kind of objective we have, I think it's in order.
Said Chuma Kwaba, Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries. You're still watching Business Live. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. This is Business Live. A quick update on some unfolding story. The Bank of Ghana says it has not made payments to Sipton Switch, a subsidiary of Sipton Communications, to manage mobile money platform for telcos. There are reports that the Bank of Ghana has settled on that company, which had the highest bid of 4 billion Ghana cedis to manage the project. But speaking on the Super Morning Show today on Joy FM, Director of Communications at the Bank of Ghana, Bernard Otabil, said that was not accurate.
It is never true that we've asked them to go ahead and invest money in it, and therefore we are not supporting them in terms of whatever is being put out there. And let me repeat and make it quite clear that what we are doing as a central bank is to facilitate that process for the telcos to be effectively operate here. Now, look at it this way. that in terms of the regulator, as a central bank, we have that kind of oversight responsibility over the commercial banks. Now, in the money transfer space, the telcos are supposed to work with the banks, and therefore they are not competitors. They are very good partners in this sort of business that we're looking at in terms of the money services business. And therefore, anything that we do in terms of regulatory extension that affects the commercial banks invariably will also affect the operations of the telcos as well. Now, simply put, if a telco is now involved in any form of money deposit mobilization, just like what the DMBs are doing, then of course you would be interested as a regulator in what exactly is involved in terms of that deposit mobilization process, what kind of risks inherent that are likely to come up, and what kind of risk mitigating structures can be put in place to avoid such a thing from happening. And as I said, we're not supposed to chase the bank, we're supposed to lead. And what we do as a central bank is to study, to think, reflect, and of course, with supplication, get the support of the general public, you included, to ensure that we achieve the set target that we have done.
All right, and that was Bernard Otabo, Director of Communications at the Central Bank, speaking on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM today. Now, as we've been telling you, there are reports of a shortage of premix fuel for the fisheries sector. Any moment from now, we understand that the Minister for Fisheries will be addressing a press conference, and my colleague Charles Aite is there at the Fisheries Commission for us. Charles, has the press conference started?
Hello, Daryl. Unfortunately, the press conference is yet to begin, and this happens to be the very first press conference by the Fisheries Minister in the person of Elizabeth Afole-Kwe. The purpose of this conference happens to do with the constitution of a 12-member committee that is expected to oversee the regulation of premixed fuel in the fisheries sector. I've spoken to a few stakeholders who told me the fact that this very committee is going to constitute key stakeholders in the fisheries sector related to matters of, the likes of the Fisheries Commission, first of all, and that of the representatives of the OMCs and the local fisher folk for that matter. But the entire, motive behind this press conference, we gather, is to find out the best ways by which the ministry under the leadership of Elizabeth Afole-Kwe could tackle the matter of the pricing of premixed fuel right here in the sector. As we have been covering over the past few weeks, the fisher folk have been complaining about issues related to the cost related to premixed fuel and issues of government not handling the concerns of the fisher folk in the very good way. So whatever the minister says is going to be on these lines. The constitution of the board, first of all, the main motive behind the board, which is to ensure the regulation, the effective regulation of, the premixed fuel, the pricing of the premixed fuel and other matters arising. So we shall be bringing you live feed in that regard as and when the press conference begins.
All right. Charles, thanks very much. That's Charles Aite there live for us at the Fisheries Commission, where we understand the sector minister is about to address a press conference and over reports that there is a shortage of premixed fuel for the fisheries sector. This is Business Live. We'll be right back after the break. All right, welcome back. Time now for our interview of the day. And the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, says fake news about unwholesome products on the market have become a drain on its resources. According to the authority, there's been a lot of falsehood spread on social media about fake products on the market. Chief Regulatory Officer Kofi Seo says such information turns out to be false upon investigation. He's been speaking about how these false alarms affect the operations.
People keep adding on, okay? And some of the stories are not, there's even some truism in the stories, the way it is twisted, makes it very difficult for anyone to follow, okay? And it becomes a wild goose chase Where do you start from? So when you say this product is already in Ghana, Ghana where? The fellow who is reporting that he has found this and he has saved your life and he wants you to save other people's life. Come on, we are becoming gullible to these funny stories. And it is not, it's no good.
How much does it cost the FDA in trying to investigate these claims and these reports?
No, it costs you a lot of human resource. Because the country over, you have regional offices all over the country, and the officers will have to be thrown out there to go and find out truly if these products are in circulation. So what it means is that other activities will have to come to a halt. So they concentrate your effort as far as human resources is concerned, other logistics, to be able to carry out this investigation to confirm or otherwise whether these stories that we are hearing, I get my point. People will do us a lot of good if they can tell us or give us precise information.
This is Business Live. I want to do a quick update on the stock market. I'm joined in studio by Betha Tubiga of Gold Coast Fund Management. Nice to see you, Betha. We want to start first with the trading on the stock markets, a preview of last week and how the stocks fared today.
Okay, thank you very much. Last week, the major indices went down marginally by 1.21% for the composite index to close at 6.87%, and the financial stock index also dropped by 2.28% to close at 9.34%. But if you compare the current returns, that the average returns of the stock market to previous years, you see that the market is doing extremely well this first days of the year, or let me say the first month and some few days into the second month, and we're hoping for a rebound hopefully this year on the stock market, considering the fact that we're going to get a lot of pension funds pushed to the equity market, and we're going to get, we're seeing interest rates coming down, and investors' confidence are actually going to shift to the equity market where they can make very good returns. Coming down to today, we saw only 3 equities moving on their previous share prices. Unilever went up by 2 pesos to close at 8 cedis 79 pesos. GCB appreciated by 5 pesos to close at 4 cedis 38 pesos. And then SIC, which was the only loser, dropped a peso to close at 15 pesos per share. So these were the only 3 movers we had today on the stock market. But the volumes of shares that traded was actually huge. Over 1 million shares, about 1 million shares traded at 3.7 million Ghana cedis. That should tell you that this is actually a good start for the market, and we're expecting more volumes to trade this week.
Well, I'm curious to know how the cedi fared as well on the interbank market.
Yes,
last
week, well, I wouldn't say it's doing well. It is not. Let me put it that way. The year-to-date depreciation, that's the Gold Coast cedi index. It measures the holistic performance of the cedi against major trading partners on the interbank market. The Gold Coast cedi index is recording a year-to-date depreciation of 4.44%. That was as of Friday. And this should tell you that the margin by which the cedi has actually gone down. Considering the fact that last year, the cedi lost about 3%, over a little above 3% for the whole year. And in the first month, just a few days, we are already going down by 4.44%. It should tell you that the cedi is not doing very well. It is not stable at all on the interbank market. Major currencies are doing better than the cedi.
All right. Thanks very much, Betha Tubiga. Thanks very much for that update. That'll be it for Business Live. Thanks for watching. Of course, keep up to date on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.